Welcome to the Actor's Side. Today, Giovanni Ribisi, who's the star of Sneaky Pete on Amazon. And thank you so much for coming out here.
Thanks for having me, Pete.
You've had a long career, believe me. I looked it up. You started as a very young child.
The year was 1927. I'm kidding. Yeah, I guess so. For most of my life, actually, yeah.
Yeah, so, but you know, a lot of kids that start out, and kids, they don't make that crossover into adult roles like you so successfully did. What was the secret there? Your mother was a manager, was in the business, your father?
Yeah, well, my mother and I, we both started together, essentially, and yeah, it was the thing, definitely on my own volition, but you know, the child actor running around Los Angeles doing 5 auditions a day, you know, that sort of thing, that it's like run to the lights, I guess, is how I sort of encapsulate that period in my mind. And I think that for a lot of people, it can be overwhelming, and that the constant rejection and that abnormal childhood experience. And then I kind of categorize it in 2 ways, or two separate lives, really, or careers, because I don't think of that as really a moment for me where I was acting until I learned about the Actors Studio, and I was 16 years old, and Marlon Brando and Robert De Niro and Dustin Hoffman and then the other actors that were coming up at that time, Gary Oldman and Daniel Day-Lewis, and these people who were treating it, you know, putting their blood into their work, and I found an appreciation for that, and so that sort of changed me, and then it became a thing where, you know, having had a career or not beforehand, it was just like a whole new endeavor, you know.
You almost had to unlearn where you were
coming from?
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah. And so then I went to a class called the Beverly Hills Playhouse, Milton Katsalas.
Yeah, very famous acting teacher there.
Yeah, and he really was. My parents got a divorce when I was around 14 years old, and you know, the family was still very tight, but I do think of Milton as sort of like a second father for me, or it was just a place that I grew up. I was there 3 days a week, and then if I wasn't there, we were rehearsing scenes to get ready for going up there, and that was 12 years.
At what point did you do Junior Star Search?
That was in the first incarnation of being an actor.
So I didn't think of you as a singer or anything, but they did.
No. Well, the Junior Star Search, it was for younger people, and then going into adolescence. And I think that so they had an acting category that I did. That I think that was like my second job.
Is that
or
right?
Something
Wow.
like that. Yeah.
What did you do on Junior Star Search?
I did the acting, and I lost, and that was another moment of sort of like that dejection or whatever, being 10 years old. Whatever, yeah.
So Actors Studio, so are you, do you consider yourself method, or a lot of those actors that you mentioned are very much out of the method acting school?
Well, I don't know, you know, there's I guess the method approach has a pejorative connotation, and I mean, I definitely read the books that Stanislavski wrote, and appreciated people who came from that, from, you know, Stanislavski, the Russian Moscow Arts Theater, and then into New York and the Actors Studio, and I guess if there's a version of that, it's, you know, I guess the foundation was really just about commitment and delving into something, and then I think there were probably misinterpretations and people throwing things on set that they would feel like that would get them into their character or whatever it was. And so yeah, but I appreciate that, and I'll even go so far as to say that I wish I saw more of that in today's generation, or the up-and-coming actors that you see today.
You've had really interesting kind of film choices too. I've noticed that 4 movies you've been in went on to be nominated for the Oscar for Best Picture. That's a very good track record, you know. So you've obviously chosen good directors, good projects. Saving Private Ryan, Selma, most recently of the Best Picture nominees.
Ava, yeah.
Avatar.
Yeah, Avatar. Yeah.
I mean, really, really good stuff.
For a long time now, and I think I've been working on it. I really do. I do think that filmmaking is unequivocally a director's medium, but you know, and more specifically an editor's medium. And I appreciate that. I think that's those are my heroes at this point, and so it's always a privilege for me to be able to work with people like that who have that purview, who can see see a story like that from production design to acting to performance to editing to lighting and rhythm and all of that. It's just it's amazing to me.
I'm fascinated by, you know, the effect of movies that you've done so much of, and television, which you've done so much of, and one particular show, which you were on a few times, Friends. I bet people say,
yeah, it's amazing
because it's never off the air.
Yeah, you know, the success of that show, it really it blows me away. We were actually, I was doing how I got involved in that. I was doing another show for the same producers and production company, and ours didn't go, and then Friends went, and they first called me in to do this one little thing, one scene, or I think the character's name was actually Condom Boy, and so I came in and did that really quickly, and then they wanted to. Then there was another role for Phoebe's brother, Frank Jr., and it really is. It doesn't matter what you do, any other film. That will be the thing, like people screaming from their cars as you're walking down the street. You know.
Sometimes you can get, you know, stuck in a character. Now you're playing Sneaky Pete, or Marius, you know, you're impersonating Sneaky Pete, in Sneaky Pete for Amazon. So this is cool. This is one of those newfangled television contraptions where you do 10 episodes.
I'm doing newfangled television contraptions. Okay.
Yeah, it's different than the old network kind of idea of this. You're with
I mean, it is. It's almost its own genre now in a way, because it's I guess the long form storytelling. I guess in the 70s and 80s we called them movies of the week. But you know, each season is that, and I think it's incredible. The main thing for me getting involved in the show was, of course, working with Bryan Cranston, who I really think is another great American actor.
Yeah, he is. In the shows that he's in, man, he is evil personified.
I know. I would go to work. I would even on the days off, I would go because the show is kind of split into 2 different lives. There's Pete's life and Marius's life, and for a lot of it, he would be working on the days that I would have off, and I would go to work just to watch anyways. Yeah, he's just incredible.
Yeah, it's such an interesting character for you, I think, too, because you almost are. He's almost like an actor because he's carrying on this role.
That's part of it. Yeah,
you know, so you're using you're an actor playing a guy who's acting essentially.
Yeah. Here. Except his life is on the line. And I guess maybe psychologically one could say that sometimes about some actors I know, but the. It is this thing where it's just this improvised. You know, he's just got to figure out right there. You know, how to unfold the situation or how to entrap somebody or whatever that is. So.
You have a place to stay?
Not in the city. Vince's goons are looking for me.
You know, Eddie just tried to deliver me up.
Look, Eddie's just trying to stay alive. He's not the only one.
I don't blame him. Vince thinks I still owe him $100 grand.
Well, it's unfortunate, but it doesn't really change things, does it?
No, not really, no.
You still want to do this?
Do you?
If you can't get justice, you get revenge.
And do you like this whole thing where you turn out 10 episodes and then people can just watch it all at once? And
Yeah, I think that's
yeah.
great. It's changing. I mean, we have these institutions as even almost you could be as broad as saying within our society, within civilization of going to the movies. We were just talking about this, and that communal thing, and it, in one hand there's a convenience factor, and then on the other hand there's this. It's interesting. I mean, the idea of just we're staying home a lot more, and I think the what's on television, what's on Amazon and Netflix and HBO is a lot more compelling, and not only is it easier, it's just it's better, and I don't know how I feel about that because I love a big movie screen and sitting in and the lights go out
Right.
and popcorn and
Yeah.
all that, and that's my generation, and but it's almost atavistic to say that now.
Well, it's fascinating to see that this kind of television is drawing actors of your level. Of Bryan Cranston can just go on and just make movies now after breaking. He doesn't have to go back to television. But it seems like you said, television is where the material is now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think they that's their stock in trade. That's what they have is quality, because there's subscribers and all that. But I think that that is the most important thing. And for some reason, with films at a certain point, I'm sure there's so many different factors, and it would be volumes to analyze it. But I think we sort of lost the plot there for a minute. The whole notion of tentpole films, and I think that I think we're looking for more in-depth, more involved stories now that challenge our intellects. Films used to hold that that position where it was, television was procedural, and it was just sort of mindless entertainment that you would go with your remote control, and then you'd go, to a film especially when independent films grew up, to be challenged in a way, and that the roles were more interesting, and it was really about rattling a cage, and now that's sort of switched, where you find so many more interesting stories and original stories in television, specifically on these Amazon and Netflix.
Well, good luck on. I can't wait to see how Sneaky Pete evolves.
Yeah,
and,
thank you. Yeah,
thanks,
me too.
Thanks for doing this. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. All right, cool, pleasure.